I just think that you have one life to live. Like, why would you not bet on yourself? Even in failures, they're not failures because it's redirection and you're always going to learn something.
I always say everything is 50-50. So you have a 50-50 chance of making this work. So you can either try, and two things are going to happen 50-50. You're either going to succeed or you're going to fail. But if you don't try, it's 100% fail.
So true.
So like, why not take your chances? Why not bet on yourself? Why not just try?
I just think if you keep investing in yourself and doing things and you constantly show up, I really don't think that there's a thing called failure.
Welcome back to the Mapuana Reed Show. Today we have my girl Shawna with us. She is also an expander for me. She's in our expanders group. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's so good to have you here. I want you to take me on your journey on who you were to who you are now and all the amazing things in between.
Well, a lot of people know me as a hairstylist and a salon owner. That's what I originally started coming to expanders for, is trying to figure out like my way. But my story of becoming is kind of one of those things where I started actually getting interested in doing hair because my mom, my aunt, my grandma all were in the industry. And I saw how you literally can make people feel so beautiful and so seen just by touching their hair. And it was just such a simple thing. So I started literally when I was 7 years old. My parents got divorced, and I would go downstairs where my aunt's salon was, and the little old ladies would literally pay me like 10 cents just to comb out their roller sets.
Oh.
And to me, it was just one of those things that I was like, wow, this is so incredible that you get paid to do this. Like, I need to do this. But I feel like it's one of those things where people in your area, like, the stigma of being a hairstylist was just, you know, like, oh, you make $20,000 a year, and it's just like one of those things where
like
you're
a
too
struggling
lazy.
artist.
Yeah, like you're too lazy to go to college. So I decided to go to school for nursing instead. And when that did not work out, I switched right back into doing hair. And I feel like I've always kind of paved the way in the industry for being a Midwest girl. I'm from Wisconsin, so it's a very small town. I just felt like, okay, I need to do something different here to make more of an impact than just doing hair. I didn't want to just be known as a hairstylist because I knew like I'm worth so much more than that. So I kind of branched out a little bit, and throughout my journey, I was in different salons, and, you know, it just kind of paved my way that way. But one of the biggest things that changed my career was actually getting certified in hair extensions. And at the time in Wisconsin, people were like, no one's ever going to pay you to do that. You know, like, you're crazy. What are you doing? I got the door slammed on my face multiple times. But I had clients sitting in my chair that are like, Shauna, if you go and do this, I will be your first client. So I flew out to California. I had no one to kind of look to in my industry in that area at the time. So it was so foreign to me. I had to put down, I think it was like a $2,000 non-refundable retainer just to interview.
Wow. That's a lot.
It was a lot.
Especially when you're just starting out, you know?
Yeah, I want to say I was maybe 20. I'm trying to think of how old it was like mid-20s at the time. So a $2,000 when you start your business is a lot of money to hopefully get in. Like, hopefully they like me. But I did. I got in, and I flew out to California and did I think it was like a 5-day retreat, and I got certified in extensions. And I was scared shitless because no one was doing that. It wasn't a thing by me. So I just started posting on social media, showing up in my stories, talking about it. I think my first install took me like 7 hours to do.
Wow.
It was so frustrating. But where I'm going with this is now I would say 90% of my clientele is all extensions. And I even educated as well with extensions. So I was a huge mentor in my area and a huge advocate for people in my area, just with them learning how to do this as well. And it really shifted my career. So that's kind of my little like hair career. But through the evolution of doing hair, I've remodeled 2 salons now. One, I had my own first storefront, and it was like this cute little quirky boutique shop. And then I had renters that came into that, and that was 2019 that we did that. And then I ended up purchasing my own salon building in 2022. No, it was I don't know. The years are a blur.
Yeah.
I think it was 2021. So it was right after COVID.
Okay.
Which, again, was terrifying because you didn't know where on earth life was going to take you at the time. But we grew so much, and so many people were so attracted to like my brand that I built, that it just like everyone wanted to be a part of it. So I bought my own building, and I completely renovated it from scratch, like I have videos of me kicking out walls.
Oh, wow.
And it's still there. We're still in there to this day, and I have 7 renters. 6 renters and 1 employee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And if you could go back and then just tell that Shauna, who was so scared to put down the $2,000, to the woman who you are today, who now owns the building, you know, that is just so, like, that's so amazing.
Yeah. It's just weird how doors open, and you just have to kind of trust the universe and the flow of things, and
but
just
you got to be willing to
intuition.
step in.
Yeah.
You got to be willing to take the first step.
Yeah. It's one of those things, though, that every day is a challenge. I mean, it's not something that I think on social media in general, when you see everyone doing that, like every hairstylist or service provider in general, like you could be a photographer, a massage therapist, or an esthetician, you always think that your next step is, I need to be an owner of a building or an owner, you know, of my space and have people follow under me. But I really encourage people to not necessarily go that route all the time, just because it's not for everyone, and it is a lot of outside work. I always say my salon building LLC is one job, and then my like behind the chair is another job, and it's never ending. And a lot of people don't see that work that goes into that.
What's the good and the bad of owning a building?
You're never off the clock. Right when people go home on a Friday, or they go out to the lake on their boat on the weekends, sometimes I'm in there painting or redoing things that fell off the wall or that needs maintenance, landscaping. Sometimes I'm there even just pulling weeds to make the outside look presentable, because you have to hire out everything. Like this, it's winter in Wisconsin, so we deal with a lot of snow removal, and that alone has been one of the biggest challenges on keeping all my renters happy with their clients' expectations.
Wow. You know, sometimes people, they just see the end product, right? Or like the end, like they just see our highlight reel right now, like, wow, Shauna's doing all these amazing things. She owns this building, but then they don't see the behind the scenes when you're giving up your weekends. They're pulling weeds, you know? So it seems glamorous sometimes on social media, but then when you really have to like do the work and get into it, so maybe it's not for everyone. Like you really got to be able to like, you know,
do the
really
work.
want this and do the work. And sometimes like doing the hair or pulling weeds, like you got to be able to, or scrub the toilet. Like sometimes you got to be.
I've been there many times.
Yeah.
Or paying the plumbing bill. That, you know, it's little things that you don't think about, that like all that money has to come out of your pocket as an owner. And sometimes I think that people think like, oh, you're just racking in all this cash because you own something, but that is so far from the truth. It really has to come from a want and desire to create a space for everyone. Like I'm really big on my brand authenticity, like the vibe of the space of the salon. I've been in many toxic salon environments, so for me to step into my own space, it's really hard when you do get someone in there that necessarily shouldn't be there, and you have to be the one to do something about it. because it's your energy, it's your peace. And I think that's where a lot of salon owners or just business owners in general, if you have a brick and mortar, you really have to want the vibe and the energy to be on.
And you have to put on the boss hat. You can't always be the friend, where sometimes you have to let go of some people that aren't, going to be able to take this business to the next level with you.
Yeah, it's so tough.
It is. Oh man. Yeah. So I get it when you're like, it's not for everybody. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about, how did you build this business on social media? Like give me your steps onto how you did this. Or if someone's like wanting to build a business, like what are some tips that you can give them?
Oh gosh. I genuinely love social media.
Okay.
I feel like it is the one place that I can connect with people. I mean, we were brought together obviously through social media, through an event, and I think that's just so wild to me. So I think the connections that you can have with people are unlike anything else, which kind of creates your own little community, because as hard as it is to show up, as a brand and have your brand colors and your aesthetic. Yes, all of that is so fun to do, and it's kind of part of the quirk of the job. But I really think that it's important to constantly show up and be vulnerable, let people see who you are. Yes, showing if you do hair, makeup, nails, if you whatever your job is, I think it's important to show that. But I also think it's really important to show like who you are. Showing up on social media, I will do stories when I get out the shower with soaking wet hair, because people want to see that you're real and that not everything is like butterflies and rainbows all the time.
Yeah.
Because that's where I get stuck in the comparison trap. So anytime I just feel called to like pop in, I just do it. And it takes a lot. I know a lot of people are so afraid to show themselves, but I even tell the girls in my salon, like, you need to be on your stories all the time, because that's where people really get to know you, and that's how people invest with you.
Yeah. So give me some examples. Like if the algorithm stopped working, what would you do? What would be your first connection that you would do? I know that we talked about connecting with local women in your community and all of that stuff. So give me some other examples, maybe besides social media.
I'm huge on hosting events. Yeah. Like, I think it's
I'm loving events right now.
Yeah,
it's so fun.
I think coming off of COVID, obviously it's been a few years, but the one thing that people wanted was connection, and 100%. They wanted to feel things with people in their community. And I really want to emphasize with people that it's so important to stay local with where your business is, because that is where a lot of your support is going to come from, but that is where your business is going to thrive and grow. So what I've done in the past that's really helped me is we sometimes create events for clients that are super fun. We just did, in July, we did a hat bar. So we had a local business come in, and she brands like trucker hats with like little, you see the cute little trendy things. So we did a hat bar where people bought tickets. And then we did tiny tats at the salon, which actually my husband came in too, and we both got tattoos of our daughter's initials. But so like all these things sold out because it brought people into the space that, number one, aren't clients of the salon, but it also just made them feel like we had a really cool community event. So we did the trucker hats. We also did big like cowboy hats where they put little like rhinestones around them. We've done curling classes with clients before where they bring in like another person. On a Friday night, we do like mocktails, cocktails, food, and we literally teach people how to style their hair, and then they can go out afterwards, because a lot of people don't know how to do something so simple. So it's really about just creating something that could be really simple but gets people involved. And that has been huge. I mean, all of our clients and people that have came to the salon are like, that was so much fun. Like, you should do that again. Another thing that I've also done in the past is I've hosted, it was actually after a Powerhouse Women event. In the Midwest, we don't have a lot of like, I shouldn't say that. we do have a lot of big thinkers, big business owners, but they're very few and far between. So I was like, this is the one thing I desire so strongly, is connecting with people that think like me, because I always felt like an outsider growing up. I always thought something was wrong with me. People would bully or make fun of me, and it was just easy to do so. And I was like, wow, something's wrong with me as a kid. I've lost some family members due to that as well. But I think over the years, when you stand up for who you are and who you know you're becoming, it's easier to let go of the people that aren't going to trust your vision too. Which one of them was a parent of mine that just didn't understand from the Midwest. Like my family, I should say, they all work the same job from 16, 18 years old, and then they retire. And that's what you do, is you stay there even if you hate it, and you retire and you make a lot of money, and that's just the way it goes. So for me, when I bounced around to like different places or different ideas, I guess, in my career, it just was one of those things that it was never really accepted. So when I wanted to find a group of like-minded women, which I did with Powerhouse Women, I really felt like, wow, these people are really like me.
Yeah.
And I didn't have that. So instead of feeling bad for myself that I live in a place that doesn't offer that, I created it. So I hosted an event. I had business owners sign up. I think I charged like $30 for food and drinks. The first event I ever had, there was, I think, 46 women sitting in my salon that all felt the same way.
Wow. So they're out there. I feel like you just have to create the space and invite them in. Yeah.
And make them feel like seen, because you would be so surprised how many people really want that, but they feel like they have to stay so sheltered.
Or they feel like they're the only one, like they're alone, you know? Yeah. Wow. I'm creating an event in Hawaii. It's called Her Next Chapter, but very similar to what you talk about. Like, you know, I live in a small town, and I too sometimes feel like an outsider, where like I have all these big dreams, but sometimes I feel like I'm selective on who I share them with. Like, of course, I share them with my expanders and stuff, because I feel like that's the women who are doing really, really big things. But I don't want to share the things, because I don't like certain things, because I don't want to feel like I'm bragging, or, you know, like I had a very successful photography business, and I like kind of put that on pause sort of to like do this. And then the guilt that came with, you know, because it was like, I feel guilty, because like, who am I to want more?
Oh, I feel that, because I'm in the middle of a huge shift right now myself.
Yeah.
With going from being a hairstylist into being a trichologist, which is a hair loss specialist, essentially. So it is really guilty, because you're leaving behind a lot of like limiting beliefs of, I have this amazing career, I have amazing clients, like, why do I not feel like it's enough for me?
Right.
But it's not even that. It's just I have so much more to give people that need a specific like type of niche down, like help, if that makes sense. I know that doesn't even make sense.
Tell me about that though. Tell me, so what exactly is that?
So I went to school. It kind of branched off of doing extensions.
Okay.
I was seeing so many clients post-COVID, just women and men actually, that would sit in my chair, and they felt so hopeless from just the way that they looked. And a lot of the problem was they weren't extension candidates.
Oh.
So I'm like, I can't let this woman that's crying in my chair walk out the door and not have a solution for her. And the whole schooling portion just kind of honestly fell in my lap. It's like, when you trust the universe, it's just there to offer you whatever you need. So I just joined the schooling and started in like 2 weeks. It was a lot, because I have a 2-year-old daughter at home, and I was getting married. Last year we got married too. So I was getting married, had my toddler, running my business, and then I was like, I'm going to go back to school for this.
Like, let me just add one more thing onto my plate here.
Yeah. So I did that. And I actually finished in 2 weeks my certified trichologist clinicals, so I will be fully certified
Oh, good for
then.
you.
So yeah, I can help men and women with different types of alopecias, psoriasis, scalp conditions in general, or if they just feel like they're thinning because of menopause. All of those things are things that we can help with. Some of them are conditions that can't be cured, but there still is options for people to still feel good.
Okay. And you're still, are you still in the Midwest?
Yep.
Okay.
But I can do that. So I can help people in person, which a lot of treatments can be done in person, but I also can do like virtual consults with people and look over like their health regimens, see what is going on, and offer them solutions via like Zoom or FaceTime. So I have a lot of clients or patients that aren't even necessarily in my area that I've helped.
Okay.
So yeah, if that's something that's just been really great because I can offer that to people around the globe essentially. Yeah. And then another cool thing that we do with that is epigenetics testing. So it's hair follicle testing, and it basically I'm kind of like a science nerd. So when I
Like a hair science nerd. I love
it.
I'm
So
like, tell me what all these big words
hair
mean.
actually holds 90 days worth of history. So when we do an epigenetics test, which is actually crazy because a blood test is only about like 72 hours.
Okay.
So when we do these, we pluck like 4 little hairs from the back of the nape, and we have to get the bulb in it, and we send them in, and it actually goes over to to Germany, and they can scan the entire hair shaft and the bulb, and it tells us if they have mold, parasites, what foods they're really sensitive to, where they're lacking in vitamins and nutrients in their body. So a lot of what people don't realize is if you're not feeling confident or your hair is starting to take a toll, it's because hair is the last place of the body that can actually receive any nutrients. So something internally with the gut is going on.
Wow.
So this test shows all of that, and it's really cool to get people back on more of a holistic guide to feel better instead of being like pushed with, do this medication, take this.
Yeah.
So it's a really awesome option for women and men.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And it's so interesting. Yeah. Okay. So let's go back to you wanting to expand and how you feel and stuff. So there's a point where you wanted to take the class. So putting down the $2,000 was really big for you. Now you look back and you're like, oh man, like it's like, I got that, you know, and then buying the building was also probably a big shift for you. Now this next chapter is your big shift right now. What is the difference? Like if you could go back and tell that girl who was putting down that $2,000 to the woman who you are now, like what would you tell her, that all the things that you've learned on this journey?
I think that it's too big of a risk to not bet on yourself.
Yes.
Like I'm a very intuitive person, and I would say like 99% of the time, like there's so much fear that comes with every single decision. It still is one of those things. Like when I went back to school, even now I'm like, now what am I going to do? And I'm really in one of those like transformation periods of letting go of a lot of limiting beliefs, working with coaches, doing a lot of that right now, which I never thought as a hairstylist it would require so much like personal development and trauma healing. But I just think that you have one life to live. Like, why would you not bet on yourself? I just think like even in failures, they're not failures because it's redirection, and you're always going to learn something. There's times where things haven't worked out. I had my own hair extension line. I have my own actually lash extension line that I started during COVID. And those things are still there, but I didn't put 100% of my energy into them like I thought, because you're redirected. And it's not that that's a failure to me at all. It's just not something that's a priority at the moment. So maybe in the future those things will pop back up when they're meant to happen and meant to be. But until then, you just kind of have to see where the ride takes you.
Yeah. I always say everything is 50-50. So you have a 50-50 chance of making this work. So you can either try, and two things are going to happen 50-50. You're either going to succeed or you're going to fail. But if you don't try, it's 100% fail.
So true.
So like, why not take your chances? Why not bet on yourself? Why not just try?
I will say my younger self was all about proving them wrong. Like if someone told me like, good luck doing that, I'd be like,
it's
watch
on.
me.
It is on.
I'm going to do it and I'm going to make it successful and make it work. And I still have a lot of that in me. But now that I have a family, things have definitely shifted a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think it's almost like your younger self is trying to protect like your children, because I have to put a roof over my children's head. Like I can't just toss it up in the air anymore. And could I go wait? I always tell my husband, because him and his family own a golf course, and every time I do make a decision on something new, I'm like, so if I do this, like, can I beer cart this summer just in case?
Just in case.
Like, what can I do at the golf course?
I'll mow the golf course.
Literally. And he just looks at me and kind of rolls his eyes. But it still is one of those things, like I still have that fear in me that like things might not work out, but I have to be a lot more strategic about what I'm doing now than when I was 22 years old.
Yeah. But you have so much, you've come such a long way, you know what I mean? And so you've built up this skin where you're like, for me, I know this, that I've built up this skin where I'm like, I know what it felt like to be on the bottom. And I know what it feels like to be where I'm at now. I prefer to be where I'm at now, but it's like, I know what it takes to get me to where I am. And I'm not scared to do the work. Like, I know what it takes. I know the hard work it takes. I know I could do this. Yeah.
There was a time that I got out of a really toxic relationship, and I literally had $40 to my bank account. I think I just started doing hair, didn't know how I was going to pay for anything. And I remember my mom told me, like, you need to pick yourself up off the floor, and like, you need to pave your own way, and no one else is going to do this for you. And that was kind of like the jet fuel to like not relying on other people for your success. And it really couldn't have got any lower than that. Like, I was sleeping on a mattress in my living room with $40 in my bank account. And to know like that was me less than, I mean, honestly, it was probably like 12 years ago, which isn't that long, to now like owning my own salon and, you know, coming to retreats that cost a fortune for business owners.
Having
like,
a family. This,
it's crazy what you can do.
Yeah. You must just look back and think like, oh, like, to be so proud of her. You know what I mean? And to be so proud of her and all the steps that she took, even scared, laying on that floor with $40. Like, she brought you here. Yeah. You know?
It is crazy when you think about it.
Yeah, totally.
I don't like to, but
right. Yeah. You know what though? But you just got to be grateful for her, because had she not, you wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
But you're not afraid to go pull the weeds, do the things, like do all the things that you need to do to get to where you are.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, I'm getting all teary-eyed over here. Well, I'm just thinking about you, like, you know, like on the floor at $40, thinking like, what's next, you know? But I think there's a lot of us sometimes that, or if there's a woman out there who's in that position right now, it's just like, I don't see any way out. Like, how am I supposed to get here? You know, or maybe they just see your story and how successful you are now, but they don't know the story of you having to sleep on the floor with just $40, you know? And I think that when people hear that story, then they think to themselves, well, if Shauna can do that and all the things that she's gone through, then so can I. Then I too can pull myself out of this. I too can continue every single day to make myself stronger, to get better, to take a chance on myself, to bet on myself, to put the $2,000 down and take the class, and to basically just bet on myself.
It's the best.
Yeah.
You have to. I always, sometimes I think I'm like a delusional business owner because I love.
That's the best kind, though.
I know it is, but I love to like visualize my dreams and like the potential for my future. Like, I still do it to this day. Like, I can visualize my next step, the next car I'll be in, like the feeling of what it feels to get to the next level. And I really think that that was one of the things that kept me going, because I knew in that moment I was not like that moment of my life.
This is not forever.
No.
Yeah.
And I knew that wasn't me. So I always say too, like, you are best off. How does that go? Like, you're best off to help the person that you once were.
Yes.
So I just think if you keep investing in yourself and doing things and you constantly show up, I really don't think that there's a thing called failure.
No, it's just learning.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes sometimes you win, sometimes you learn.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Okay, I know we got I didn't even look at any of my questions really. So let me go back on track.
I know.
So good. Okay. How can service providers pivot from posting and hoping?
They kind of coincide a little bit together.
Yeah.
I think that one thing that I found that helps to create connection and community, if you want to grow your business, is go out there and talk, number one, with other business owners. Let people know what you have to offer. If you're, like, for me, I'm starting something new and I'm not afraid to go join local, meetups or groups to really put myself out there to tell people what I have to offer, because a lot of people just don't know.
Yeah.
And a lot of people aren't spending as much time on social media as they were before. I mean, probably same with you when you were transitioning from photography to podcasts. Like, you had to put yourself in rooms to get the people on your show, to get people to know what you wanted to do. So it's kind of like starting from scratch all over again, honestly. But I always love offering someone else support on, like, what can I do for you? Because I think in a world of business, there's not a lot of people out there that are willing to support other business owners. It's more of like, oh, I want you to do this for me.
Yes.
But if you come at it like, hey, what can I do for you? What's going to help your brand? How can I best support it with what the audience I have, on social media, in a community event, anything like that? Like, what is going to be the best needed for you? People remember that, and they're way more willing to refer you to other people based off of who you are rather than like what you have to offer.
Yeah. And then they say that people will always remember the way that you make them feel.
Yep.
So when you come at it, we're like, here, I'm just here to help you. I'm not here to like ask you or take anything from you. Like, what can I do for you? How can I service you? How can I provide for you? Yeah.
And it makes people step back a little bit because they're not used to it. But that's how I've created so many connections in general, where instead of just like posting and being like, oh, I hope this works, I hope that this marketing plan works, or I start to get more clients, it's like, why don't you actually start showing up in the places that you want your ideal clients to be, and then offer them support. Yeah. And it's one thing to post on social media, but it's another to actually meet someone in person, to meet them for coffee, or to actually have an in-person conversation. They have this IRL, in real life. Like, I just learned, I was like, what the hell is IRL? I'm like learning all these things, That's like, in real life. I'm like, I can't with all of this. But like meeting in person, and I feel like a lot of people are lonely. A lot of people are craving connections, especially after the pandemic and stuff, that even just hosting events, like, people just want to be included. They want to be seen. They want to feel that they're part of a community and part of a group. Talk to me about your events, because I'm here to like learn about events and stuff. I've had a couple of my events, so I'm still kind of new at events. Okay. Well, I'm new at events too.
Okay.
I just started offering more like local networking.
Okay.
I called it per tutti, which means for everyone. So it wasn't, it's an Italian word. It wasn't just something that is like for hairstylists, for service providers. It was, we had realtors, we had website designers, we had PR people, we had athletic trainers, we had gym owners, like, you name it. Everyone kind of came and was in there. But what was so awesome was that it's so local to our area. So you got to, number one, meet with other people. But what I did was host my own event in the salon, all these different business owners. But I curated different questions and had everyone break off into small groups. So we all got to network with different people, but it really made people really vulnerable on like, what was your biggest challenge this year? And there was people crying, there was people laughing. I think there was 6 questions in total that really put people out of the box to like kind of drop the BS of like what you think your business is into what do you really need the most support on right now. And I got the best, you know, takeaway. Like, there were people that were just like, I didn't want to be here, but I really needed this. Like, thank you for that. And it's so cool to this day. Like, there's been connections that have come just from that room of people meeting other people. So you just never know who you're going to meet.
Yeah.
That to me was so rewarding.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't do anything, it was just like bringing people together was like such a joy.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to turn it on you and ask you one of those questions. So, like, what was your biggest maybe hurdle or your biggest challenge that maybe became your biggest blessing?
Oof. Well, I would say one of my biggest things that was such a hurdle for me was I got out of a really toxic relationship, and I had no sense of self-worth, and I knew I needed to do something for myself that I could prove to myself that I was worthy and I could do it. So it was during COVID, I literally started a business by Coastal out in Arizona from Wisconsin, and I grew it from nothing but networking with people in Facebook groups and meeting them for drinks that they became clients, and like we had really good relationships. But I did that for about 2 years and was solid booked out here just through the power of networking.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you would just commute?
I was going to move out here, but it was during the times of like a lot of uncertainty. Like they put mask mandates back on, and then it was like then they're off, and then the airlines went on strike. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And it was just I was flying back and forth every 6 to 10 weeks, and I would take clients out here for like a week to 10 days roughly, and then I would fly back home. So it all worked out really, really well, but it was a lot of back and forth. But to me, that was the hardest thing. I started a business during a pandemic across the country where I knew no one. But
do you think about it now and think like, Shauna, what were you thinking? Like, you knew no one, but then, or do you look back and think like, you know what, there she goes again. She's just gonna do her thing.
Well, it was always a dream of mine to work out here because so many of my mentors were out here. I just never thought I would do it until I did, and it was honestly one of the coolest things I've ever done.
Yeah.
I still, like, every time I'm out here, like, my heart is just like, I know I'm meant to be here. It just didn't work out to move at the time. And then that's when my now husband came into the picture, so I decided to actually just stay home to be with him too. So it was kind of a lot of moving parts that just happened. But that was the hardest thing. I literally had to take a stab in the dark on myself because I knew if I came out here and worked for a salon and had people help me, like I needed to do it on my own or I would be so mad at myself. Like if I failed, it was on me. And I needed to prove that to myself, and I did. And it was a huge personal growth journey for me, but it was so fun as well.
Yeah. But seeing all of the times that you did bet on yourself, all like just in this conversation alone, like you bet on yourself so many times and you still continue to just bet on yourself. Yeah. I think for me, like that's like the biggest lesson is just to continue to bet on yourself, continue to believe, and then continue to try.
Yep.
Yeah, just don't give up, because if you give up, if you don't believe in yourself, no one else is going to believe in you.
Right. So true.
Yeah. That was so good. Thank you so much. If someone wants to work with you, how do they get in touch with you?
Probably Instagram
Okay.
is one of the easiest ways. It's at Shauna Enright Hair. Otherwise, my website, I have a lot of forums and things like that people can do. And I also just launched a mentorship, like one-on-one. I call them like a power hour. So if there is someone in any industry that just wants someone else to look at their business and like see where their blind spots are, I started doing that because I was giving out so much advice.
Yeah.
That that's been a really cool thing that I've been doing too, so people can do that on there as well.
Okay. So good. Thank you. Thank you
welcome.
for sharing
Thank
your
you.
entire journey. I loved it. I just feel so inspired, and I hope other people who are listening feel the same. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.